In Metal Gear Solid 3 and Metal Gear Solid Triangle, the remake one, there are some details and scenes that gun nerds had pointed out for being unrealistic, like the boss taking down Snake's M1911 and Mark 22 Hush Puppy pistols with a very quick motion, pushing out the slide stop, or that Ocelot's Makarov shouldn't really have that double feed jam issue, despite what Snake said in the game and in the radio dialogue afterwards. A lot of people focus on real-life gun mechanism and logic to analyze if the Makarov actually will jam or if it is very unlikely, but I might have the actual answer to why it happened. So, here we have a Airsoft 1911. This is a KJ Works. Airsoft pistols, they don't have extractors and ejectors because airsoft guns use pellets. They don't leave casings. And what happens is that if you use it normally, you charge your pistol. One round goes from the magazine feed lips into the chamber, the hop-up chamber. If you then go to charge it again, ideally the first round will be pushed out by the second one as it feeds and roll out the front of the barrel. But sometimes what happens is that the round can roll out into this space and blocked by the magazine, so it cannot fall down out of the magazine well, and that prevents the slide from closing properly, like this. And that would have been like a fairly common occurrence. If you have a little bit of experience with operating these airsoft pistols, or you went to the airsoft field for a little bit and you just charge your pistol willy-nilly to make sure it is loaded or whatever, it is fairly easy for that kind of double feed, or rather round going out of place kind of jam to happen. And that might have been the inspiration to that scene. Similarly, this Tokyo Marui style pistol, these are extremely common. Most brands of Airsoft 1911s are actually just copies of Tokyo Marui pistols. And when you take it down, you can just straight up pull out the slide stop lever. If you do that on a real 1911, the plunger and recoil spring will probably fly across the room, or if you're outside, into a bush or into some tall grass, never to be seen again. But for airsoft guns, there's this peg right here for the plunger. So the plunger is fairly secure in place, it will not do that. And also, airsoft guns' recoil springs are much weaker than real steel guns. It is still strong enough to do that, but it's on a different level of stiffness, different gauges of wire and all that. I also have a early Western Arms style 1911 here. And this one has the protrusion on the other side of the slide stop, making it easy to push out with your finger. As you can see, you can also remove it like that, and it also has the peg there to keep the plunger in place. From my understanding, Japanese people probably don't have easy access to real firearms like 1911s and Makarovs. They might have special licenses for like shotguns or hunting rifles for hunters and all that. It is not that unlikely they have to rely on airsoft guns to, for the developers and writers of the script to get a feel of these kind of guns, how they work and all that. If not airsoft guns, they would have to rely on books like gun magazines or those historic coffee table books talking about like Vietnam equipments or World War II airplanes or something. Also like consultants, like gun experts or former military members. You know how like sometimes there are just some old gun rumors, gun myths circulating around. Maybe that can be a cause for some of these, not very realistic, accurate parts. And also, sometimes in media, video games or movies, realism takes a backseat for plot or cool scenes or stories that the writers want to tell. Movies have a lot of unrealistic scenes in it, like bottomless magazines or the bizarre silencer fight in one of those John Wick movies. In one of those Mission Impossible films, Tom Cruise was pursued by a Predator drone and has to, jump out of the car and scramble to assemble a G36 out of the box. And that is not very realistic in a lot of ways, like being strafed by a Predator drone is pretty unrealistic, or that the G36 doesn't really benefit from being taken down to big pieces, because you can just fold the stock and get a basically same length of rifle overall, unless you take the barrel out, which it is definitely not a quick detach kind of thing for Tom Cruise to assemble in a hurry on a falling bridge or whatever. But it makes for a very dramatic and exciting scene for the movie, and that is what the writers and the general audience wants. So what might have happened was that the writers they have access to some of these guns, and they are in the writer's room trying to come up with a very cool scene of like the boss taking down a 1911 with a swift motion, like one of those John Woo movies. Maybe they just need a excuse for Ocelot to not shoot Snake in the face, so they draw inspiration from the things that they have available to them, the experience they have, and stuff like that. And so we have those kind of explanations and scenes and all that. The Makarov pistol having a double feed jam issue makes no sense if it's a real Makarov, but if it's a Airsoft Makarov, it makes a lot of sense because that's how it works. Obviously, these are just speculations. I don't know if these are the actual reasons why the game is the way it is, but this I feel like is a pretty good explanation, and I feel like people might appreciate these kind of information. Obviously, Metal Gear Solid 3 remains to be a classic. A lot of the gun information in the game is really impressive even to this day. Us discussing this today is more proof to how beloved and influential the video game is. Anyway, thanks for watching. See you next time.